Welcome everyone, I'm Alto the Hero, and today we will speak about my current arch nemesis, the open world action RPG Assassin's Creed Odyssey. There's gonna be spoilers by the way, and this review will probably be along the lines of my Undertale review, which is to say I will be ranting a bit. With that out of the way, we can move on to today's topic, the Witcherification of this sort of unique but not really game series that I like. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was developed by Ubisoft Quebec and published by Ubisoft in October of 2018 for the Xbox One, PS4, PC, and apparently also the Switch, but only in Japan. So moving on to the actual game. In the modern day, it stars everyone's favorite friend killer and totally well-liked character Layla Hassan, on her quest to figure out whatever the hell is an Atlantis. Meanwhile, in the historical parts, you play as either Cassandra or Alexios because what is pre-established lore. Cassandra in the canon case, or Alexios, is a Mystios or mercenary that doesn't do all that much mercenarying after all. Their story is that they are technically Spartan but get exiled as a child, and then wacky adventures ensue where you meet with your sibling who has since become a sort of cult leader but not really because they have higher-ups, your mother who has become the ruler of an island, your fake daddy who is still kicking gas because he's Spartan, your technically half-brother who hates you, of course.
It appears I have other matters to attend to.
And your real daddy, who also happens to be well-known mathematician and deadman even by the game's settings time, Pythagoras. Moving on to the gameplay, if I had to describe it in one word, it would be bloat. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things to do, it just also happens to be a whole lot of nothing. The world is huge, like really bleeding massive. And it's also really empty and boring because there's nothing meaningful to do in it. Oh, by the way, I have a hate boner for sailing, so that being a big focus of the game is also a negative point for me. The game is jam-packed with a whole lot of repetitive content, as well as some new stuff, but it's mostly all shit it got from Big Brother Origins. The combat mechanic was tweaked. Gone are the days of blocking with your shield. Shields suck when they're not represented by the PC glowing, proclaims Odyssey proudly. Instead, you get a parry mechanic, since with one-handed weapons you're forced to dual wield the Spear of Leonidas, we'll come back to that momentarily, and otherwise you are using both of your hands, so no shields. This upset a lot of people initially. Not me though, cause I thought the combat mechanic was unenjoyable either way. Speaking of the combat mechanic, aside from changing and blocking to parrying, it's still mostly the same as Origins. Which is to say, to fight people, you flail at them wildly, hoping your stats are better than theirs. Now, all that's not to say that the previous fighting mechanics were any better. The closest to a good one we got was Unity, and even that was a slow slugfest of waving your sword around until the stat check obstacles allow you to pass. It's just to say that a slightly different way of sucking is still sucking. And going back to the Spear of Leonidas, it took the Hidden Blade slot as the stat instant kill weapon, more on that later. It's also what gives Protagonist Alpha their abilities of pure, unadulterated bullshittery. Now, if I said I didn't enjoy the bullshittery, I'd lie. But that doesn't mean that it being in the game in the form that it is a good thing. So, what does the spear allow you to do? It grants you the power of no fall damage, good, I won't complain, kinda like it. The power of flesh stepping so you can practice your Rondime cosplay, fine. I like speed and teleportation as superpowers, and you are a demigod so it's bearable, though it is getting a bit too much. The power of turning invisible, stupid, but not unprecedented. Though I decided to say it just as much. And actually, what I said is the exact issue. Starting out with a piece of Eden, although opens up cool possibilities like becoming Greek Minato Namikaze, it also makes you into a demigod, and there's no real way to counter that and make it not OP without reading it outright. For example, turning off fall damage is a progression reward for leveling up. It doesn't even cost you skill points. Most other things I named, flesh stepping, turning invisible, that sort of stuff, are all unlocked with just skill points, which aren't hard to come by once you've sacrificed your soul to the grind gods. Now, what with the spear taking the Hidden Blade's place as a stealth weapon, you would expect it to, if not at all times, but at least most of the times to be an insta-kill. Since it is a bloody spearhead, you are lunging through people's necks. And you'd be wrong. If there's anything I've learned from the turning everything into the Witcher 3 trend, it's that fun is only to be had when the numbers say so, because the numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for me at sacrifice! They also spell disaster for you if you haven't invested time into not making your Assassin's Core shit, and potentially if you haven't been keeping up with upgrading it and your other equipment. And just now, I have made mention of an assassin's core, so how exactly do I mean that? Well, this game allows you to choose one playstyle, or at least that would be the idea, but you can also mix and match after a while. These playstyles are Hunter, Warrior, and Assassin. Hunter is just bowmanship and taming animals, I think. Most of the abilities are about special arrows and such. I suppose at least with this, you don't have to use the homing arrow stuff from Origins, seeing as how they made it into an ability. Warrior is being buff Spartaman who can will bulls into existence. Meanwhile, Assassin is mostly making your spearhead actually kill people, useless shit, and turning on the aforementioned Fort Hokage mode. Now, some people say that stealth gameplay is still in the game, and they're not necessarily wrong, but with how the game is built, I'd say that it's not really encouraged either. Yeah, you can still stealth your way through bases and kill everyone without alerting anyone. Hell, it's easier than ever with the Leonidas brand instant cremation device, but that doesn't mean that charging them head on wouldn't have been easier and faster in a lot of cases if you don't count the mercenaries. Speaking of which, the mercenaries are the Phylaki type from Origins, only they are randomly generated aside from a few ones, and instead of being instantly aggroed onto you, they just kind of exist? Unless you do something near a civilian, in which case they instant transmission behind you and try to whoop your ass. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Either way, someone's getting their ass handed to them. There's also mercenary rankings, which don't make sense after a while. Sure, it makes sense for the most part, and then for some reason being number 1 in rank 1 isn't actually being number 1. No! That title goes to the person in number 1 of rank S4. And oh boy, I just realized we didn't talk about the ships aside from I hate them. So, naval battles exist. You have a closest range and a long range attack as well as ramming on a black flag. Difference between the two being that in this game you can aim the closest shot and there's also a meter, which allows you to set your shots on fire. There's also parts of MGS 5 in this game, as you can knock out and steal people to force them to work on your ship. And the ships remind me, look at all this shit that you need to upgrade, and the shit you need to collect to even upgrade them. Kill the cultists that are hidden around the, may I remind you, bloody massive open world, to acquire Doritos, to upgrade the spear, get all of this shit that I won't even list out to upgrade your basic gear, only on blacksmiths and on a price mind you, and collect ancient tablets, as well as the same shit as the normal gear, and money to upgrade parts of the ship. Now, some of these may work, hell, all of these may work if they turn down the amount of resources both required to craft and overall. But as it is, it just doesn't really, unless you just pour resources by not upgrading for a while or don't mind roaming the lands buying up every single resource blacksmiths have. And to continue in a similar manner, let's take another action RPG I reviewed recently and look at these games' upgrade mechanics in comparison to each other. In Neo, you upgrade a weapon by going to the blacksmith, giving them the weapon you want to upgrade and the weapon you want to use as a booster of sorts to get weapon A to weapon B's level, and pay them all of your life savings. As a result of this transaction, you get a weapon A that's on the level of weapon B, with the appropriately balanced space damage as well as the modifiers possibly being upgraded. In Odyssey, you upgrade a weapon by going to the blacksmith, giving them the weapon you want upgraded, and paying them all of your life savings, as well as all of the natural resources found in the Greek world, at least at higher levels. As a result, you get your weapon back at your level, with the appropriately balanced space damage, and that's it. Now, there's not a whole lot of difference between how the two games tackle upgrades, yet I'd argue that Neo's stick incentivizes the use of the upgrade system better for a couple of reasons. Obviously, modifiers being upgraded is a big plus, but what really makes the difference is that you can't wield weapons and wear armor you're under level 2 in Odyssey. In Neo, I can theoretically be level 5, and if I summon someone and they drop level 150 weapons and armor for me, but I like the modifiers of my current gear, if I somehow have millions hidden under my pillow, I can drop by the blacksmith and turn my level 5 gear into level 150 gear and still wear it through Isle of Demons no problem. Meanwhile, in Odyssey, I pick up level 15 gear while I'm level 12, and I can't benefit from the gear anyway aside from wearing it, which I'm still unable of doing, or selling it for chump change. The reason why this is an issue, at least to me, is because of bottlenecking. In the former case, your character level is bottlenecking the damage of the weapons, depending on how you upgrade your character. But as your level grows, so does the damage, because you're growing into the weapons, so to speak. In the latter case, if you don't upgrade your gear, or if you can't because you're lacking the resources or rank B, the weapon is bottlenecking your damage. Just because the game decided that you now do 2 more damage overall because you're level 25, Your level 12 daggers won't give much of a shit, and the level 24 to 27 enemies will care even less. Throughout your journey, you will be faced by interesting dialogue choices that all amount to basically nothing other than who is added to your ship crew at the end of the game, if any, and consist of, do I want to be nice or do I want to be the boss, and do I want to insert my literal or figurative dick into this person? The game has its moments when it looks gorgeous, but popping is an issue sometimes, and some of the textures leave something to be desired when looked at for a while. As for the music, it does its job. Overall, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is an alright game on its own, if grindy, although that's just Ubisoft right now, and not a stellar Assassin's Creed game. In fact, dare I say it would be better off if it had no ties to the AC series, because as anecdotal as it is, I know at least one person who didn't buy the game because of the AC title on the front, and who would have done so otherwise. Odyssey also achieved the title of the first game to star me on one of its prequels. Opinions change, I get that, and there's a lot of games I would rate differently now than when I did so initially. But usually, changes like this only occur when I go back to a game and realize flaws I otherwise didn't because I was still in the honeymoon period or something like that. Meanwhile, playing through Odyssey made me dislike Origins as well, because Origins, while providing a serious shake-up like Black Flag did and overall being okay, was also not the best foundation, especially not if after it they go into more RPG than action-adventure, which, as we can see, is what they did. And all of this amounts to a rating that I believe to be fair, which is 6 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this video, and with that, goodbye.